So, good morning everyone. Today, we are going to discuss obligations and contracts. First, what is obligation? According to Article 1156 of Civil Code of the Philippines, an obligation is a juridical necessity to give, to do, or not to do. Basically, obligations are promises from one person to another. Obligations and contracts are part of our civil code, which is ito yung qualifications of the laws, regulations, and norms that one must follow in a civil society. Hence, the word civil code. So, merong tatlong part ang obligation: elements, sources, at effects. Dito muna tayo sa elements of obligations. The first two elements are the subjects. Merong active subject at passive subject. Active subject, ito yung tinatawag nilang creditor. Sila yung mga tumatanggap o nagbe-benefit sa obligation. Passive subject, ito naman yung debtor. Sila yung doer ng obligation. So, the obligation is towards the debtor to do what he has promised to do. So, next is the object, kung ano yung promise. Merong tatlong objects: to do, to give, or not to do, which is i-discuss natin mamaya. The fourth element is juridical tie. Ito yung nagbabind sa creditor at debtor. Juridical tie is the essence of trust. Nakadepend dito kung paano i-perform ng debtor yung kanyang promise. Lastly is the cause. Cause is the reason for the obligation. Bakit ginawa yung obligation? Ano yung reason sa obligation? Importante ito kasi kunyari pag nagkaroon ng problema, gustong malaman ng mga tao kung bakit pumasok ang isang tao sa obligation na yon. Dito naman tayo sa pangalawang part ng obligation, which is the sources. Saan nanggaling yung obligation? First is law. Law, ito yung nagsasabi sa atin kung ano yung mga dapat nating sundin. For example, taxation. Kailangan natin magbayad ng fair share sa government without any agreement as long as citizen tayo ng country na yon. Next is contract. Contract is an agreement in two parties. Sa contract, ito ay field ng obligations sa isang party para gumawa o magbigay ng isang bagay. The third source is called quasi-contract. Kabaliktaran ito ng contract na based sa agreement dahil ito ay nagbe-base mismo sa law. For example, a just enrichment. Hindi ka maaaring yumaman o magsamantala sa isang tao dahil sinasabi sa batas na dapat mong ibalik ang hindi sayo o kung ano ang iyong natamo ng hindi makatarungan. The fourth source is called crime o yung tinatawag nilang delicts. Pag nalaman na guilty ka sa isang crime, meron kang obligation na isoli, magbayad sa damages, magbayad ng fine o makulong. The last source of obligation is called quasi-delicts or in other words, negligence. For example, napabayaan ng debtor yung kanyang obligation. Meron siya ngayong utang doon sa creditor para sa mga damages na gawa ng negligence. Effects of obligation. The first effect of obligation is to give. Meaning, kailangan mong ibigay kung ano man yung napagkasunduan nyo. Halimbawa, umorder ka sa material supplier. Kailangan niya i-provide yung mga construction materials na in-order mo. The second effect is to do or not to do. Sa to do, one promises para i-perform yung task. Sa obligation not to do, one promises not to do anything. Third effect is the fruits. Ito yung outcome ng obligation. Once the obligation starts, kung ano yung kasama sa obligation na yon, kailangan kasama pa rin sa delivery ng obligation. Lastly, accessories and accessions. For example, nag-promise ka na mag-deliver ng heavy equipment para sa construction. Kailangan kasama syempre yung mga gulong, upuan, saka controller at iba pa. Now let's go to kind of obligations. Number 1, pure. A pure obligation does not have any attachment, meaning it is a pure promise, a pure undertaking to do, to give, or not to do. Pure obligation is demandable at once. Yung receiver ng obligation ay may karapatan na mag-demand sa debtor na mag-perform ng obligation. Number 2, conditional. Meaning, pag nagkaroon ng condition, the obligation becomes demandable at once. Yung condition, yung starting point ng obligation. Number 3, period. Dito, yung obligation mo is nakakonect sa date, sa time of future event. For example, bilang isang civil engineer, nagtatayo ka ng bahay. Kailangan matapos ito sa nakatakdang time period. Number 4, alternative. A type of duty where the person who owes it has a choice of how to fulfill it. Dito, choice ng debtor na mag-undertake ng 2 or more obligation. Kung merong dalawang obligation, pwede siyang mamili kung ano yung tutuparin niya doon. Number 5, joint and solidary. Sa joint and solidary, this involves 2 or more debtors. Yung creditor pwede mag-demand sa isang debtor, kunyari si debtor A. Pag pinerform ni debtor A yung obligation, pwede naman siya mag-demand kay debtor B ng share ng obligation. Number 6, divisible or indivisible obligations. This obligation usually involves things divisible meaning partial performance lang. Halimbawa, may nagpa-deliver ng 50 sacks of cement. Sa first month, ide-deliver mo muna yung 1/4. Second month, 1/4 ulit. And so on. Sa indivisible naman, full performance na. Kung may nagpa-deliver ulit ng semento, ide-deliver mo na ito ng isahan lang. Number 7, obligation with a penal cost. Ito yung kadalasang nakikita sa mga contracts. If the debtor fails to do the obligation, merong fixed amount na penalty na kailangan itong bayaran.
So, good day everyone. I'm Janet A. Cabacuan, and I will be reporting how obligations are extinguished. So, before we start, ano nga ba yung obligation? So, yung obligations, ito yung parang kailangan mong gawin or pangako mo na magbigay na to do something or not to do something. So, yun siya. So, let's start. How obligations are extinguished o kung paano mawawala yung obligation mo. So, meron tayong anim dito. So, una, performance or payment. Performance or payment, so ito yung pinaka-common way para ma-extinguish yung obligation. So, it involves the debtor fulfilling the exact prestation agreed upon. So, whether it be delivering a specific thing, performing a service, or refraining from a particular action. So, kunyari, yung construction company, nag, nag-build siya ng bridge according to the specification outlined in the contract. So, kapag natapos yung build na yun and na-meet niya lahat ng requirements, so yung obligation to build is extinguished na. So, the contractor now is entitled to payment. So, pangalawa is yung loss of the danger. So, dito sa loss of the danger, so obligation siya that involves object. And kapag yung object na yun is nawala na without the fault of the debtor, so yung obligation doon is extinguished na. So, kunyari, yung construction company, nag-agree siya na mag-deliver ng specific batch of steel beam sa isang building project. So, kapag yung beams na yun is nasira sa sunog, before the delivery. So, yung obligation doon is extinguished na. Assuming that the fire was fortuitous event or an event beyond the company's control. So, automatic, yung obligation doon is cancel na. Naman tayo sa condonation or remission. So, this refers to the voluntary forgiveness of the debt by the creditor. It requires the debtor consent to be effective. So, ibig sabihin nandito, papatawadin mo yung merong obligation sa'yo voluntarily. So, ibig sabihin, ah, hindi yung sakit sa kalooban mo yun. Something na. So, example na to. So, kunyari, yung engineer hindi nagmagawa sa kanya ng plano. And yung client niya na yun, pag-alaman ng engineer na, kamag-anak niya pala, pinsan niya lang. So, siyempre, as sa common na yun sa mga Pilipino, kamag-anak mo yung ano, gano'n, is siyempre, sabihin mo, ay, sige, okay na yan, libre na, huwag mo na akong bayaran. So, ganun yung condonation. So, next is yung confusion or merger. So, nangyayari lang to kapag yung creditor and debtor nag-merge into one person. So, ano ibig sabihin nun? So, kapag yung, yung creditor, naging debtor din. Para mas maintindihan natin, example na lang. So, kunyari, yung engineering firm, may utang sa bangko na loan. Yun nga, utang. So, yung owner ng engineering firm subsequently inherit the bank. So, yung obligation dun is wala na due to the merger of creditor and debtor. Kasi nga, hindi ka naman pwede magkautang sa sarili mo. So, automatic, wala na yung, ano doon, yung obligation doon. So, next is yung compensation. So, nangyayari to kapag yung dalawang parties have reciprocal obligation na pwedeng i-set off against each other. So, yun, makakancel yung debts or yung obligation. So, for example, yung construction company. So, nag-hire siya ng subcontractor para mag-install ng electrical system sa building. Ngayon, yung ano naman, yung subcontractor na yun, meron siyang utang sa company na mga materials. So, ngayon, so ngayon, since pares silang may utang sa isa't isa, so pwede na makancel yung obligation doon. So, so last yung novation. So, dito sa novation, it involves the substitution of a new obligation for an existing one. So, ito yung mababago yung obligation ng panibagong obligation. So, for example, yung construction company, nag-build siya ng bridge para sa isang municipality. And then yung municipality later decide na baguhin yung bridge design. So, yung dating obligation na na-extinguish na kasi nga napalitan ng panibagong obligation which is yung panibagong design ng bridge. So, yan. Dito naman tayo sa general rules for obligation. So, meron tayong apat na general rules. So, yung una, compelled to perform. So, dito, yung creditor, pwede niyang singilin or compel yung debtor na i-perform yung obligation niya. So, ibig sabihin nun, pwede mo singilin, kunyari may nangutang sa'yo. So, pwede mo siyang singilin na magbayad sa'yo or gawin yung obligation niya. Number two is fraud, negligence, delay, and contravention. So, kapag yung debtors nag-commit siya ng fraud, negligence, delay, or contravention, or yung violation of the contract's terms, so yung creditor pwede siyang maningil ng additional remedies such as damage. Ganun. And then number three is yung damages. Yung creditor pwede siyang mag-claim ng damages for any losses incurred due to the debtor's failure to fulfill the obligation. So, pwedeng maningil yung creditor kapag yung debtor is hindi niya na-fulfill yung obligation niya. And dito na tayo sa transferable. So, dito yung obligations are transferable. So, ibig sabihin, pwede siyang ma-transfer sa isang tao. So, next is contracts. Ibig sabihin ng contracts, it is an agreement between two parties creating mutual obligations that are enforceable by law. Dito na naman tayo sa form of contracts. Meron tayong three. Una, formal. So, these contracts requires a specific form such as public document to be valid. So, ibig sabihin, kailangan nakanotaryo yung contract. And kailangan may sinusunod siya na format. Example na to yung sales of land through an agent, donation of property, and contracts of partnership, and many more. So, number two is informal contracts. Informal contracts is contracts that do not require a specific form. And pwede siyang magawa orally or sulat kamay as long as merong consent, object, and cause. Panguna is real contracts. So, these contracts are legally enforceable. This means that yung court, i-recognize niya na yung contract na to as valid and it would be willing to enforce its terms if one party breaches agreement. So, kapag yung isang party is nag-break niya yung nandun sa agreement, so pwede siyang ipatawag sa court and pwede siyang ah, held liable para i-complete yung nandun sa agreement ng contract. Next naman is when is form important. So, importante yung form for validity, convenience, and enforceability ng isang contracts. Next naman is Article 1358. Article 1358 of the Civil Code of the Philippines outlines the specific contracts that must be in writing to be legally valid and enforceable. These requirements are intended to ensure clarity, prevent fraud, and protect the interest of all parties involved. So number one is contracts involving real rights over immovables. So this refers to contracts that create, transfer, modify, or extinguish real rights over immovable property. So yung real rights are rights that directly affect a specific piece of property like ownership, easement, or mortgages. Immovable properties naman includes land and anything permanently attached to it such as building. Number two, cession, repudiation, or renunciation of hereditary rights. So this refers to contracts where someone gives up their rights to inherit a property, either by cession, meaning transferring the rights to another, repudiation, meaning explicitly refusing the inheritance, or renunciation, meaning formally waiving the right to inherit. Number three, power to administer property for another. So this refers to contracts where someone gives or grants another person the power to administer their property. So this could involve managing finances. Number four is cession of action or rights proceeding from an act appearing in a public instrument. So this refers to contracts where someone transfer their rights to sue or claim something based on a previous legal document. Number five, all other documents where the amount involved is in excess of 500 pesos. So this is a general requirement that applies to any other documents or contracts where the amount involved is greater than 500 pesos.
Punta naman tayo dito sa reformation of contract. The law allows that the contract can be redone or rewritten with certain requirements or conditions that have to be present. Yung reformation of contract is a legal remedy na nag-aalaw sa korte para baguhin o i-rewrite yung kontrata na previously napag-agrihan ng both parties. Bakit ba nagkakaroon ng reformation of contract? Usually, it happens kapag nagkaroon ng mistake. Halimbawa, yung mismong kontrata may typographical error or pwede rin na babaguhin mismo yung nilalaman ng kontrata. Magbigay tayo ng halimbawa ng reformation of contract. Imagine yung isang engineering company ay nag-agree na mag-build ng bridge for 12 months. Then, ayun, nagkapirmahan na. Tapos, ang sabi dun sa contract is 6 months lang yung timeline ng project. Pero yung both parties nag-agree na 12 months. So, they will go to court or korte to fix the contract. Yung 6 months gagawin nilang 12 months. Ito yung halimbawa ng reformation of contract. Essentially, yung reformation of contract is all about correcting the contract. Ano naman yung grounds for reforming a contract? Una, dapat mutual. Dapat same yung interest ng both parties about doon sa babaguhin doon sa kontrata. Pangalawa, dapat unilateral, meaning one party was mistaken in the contract and yung other party will ask or may ask for reformation. And yung pangatlo, mistake by third person. Maybe between two people who make the contract, merong third person na nagsulat noong kontrata. And yung third person na yon nagkaroon ng negligence doon sa pagsusulat ng kontrata. And lastly, others is specified by law, which is to avoid frustration or the true intent of the parties. Ano naman yung mga requisites to reform? Una, there is a written instrument, meaning dapat ay nakasulat sa isang papel yung kontrata. Pangalawa, there is meeting of minds. Pangatlo, true intention not expressed in instrument. Meaning, yung true intention ng both parties, hindi siya involved doon sa may instrument or kontrata. Pangapat, clear and convincing proof. Panglima, facts put in issue in pleadings. Remember that the action of reforming a contract is prescribed within 10 years after the first execution of the contract. There are exceptions, meaning there is no option to have the contract reformed. Una, simple donation inter vivos. Ano ba to? It is a donation agreement given while both parties are still alive. And kapag may mistake dito sa agreement na to, reformation of contract can correct it to reflect the donor's true intention. Pangalawa is wills. Ano ba yung wills? Ito yung legal document na nagsasaad kung kanino or saan pupunta yung ari-arian ng isang tao. Pangatlo, when real agreement is void. Pangapat, estoppel. It is when the person or the other party cannot go back on his word with regards to the contract. Punta tayo dito sa kinds of defective contract. Pero bago yan, ano muna ang defective contract? From its root word defect, merong problema or issue yung kontrata natin. It has legal flaw na pwedeng makaapekto sa validity and enforceability nitong agreement. Punta na tayo sa first kind of defective contract. Una, rescissible contract. Yung rescissible contract is a valid agreement pero pwede siyang ma-invalidate kapag nagko-cause siya ng harm economically sa other party or even unfairness. Bakit ba napabilang sa defective contract yung rescissible contract? Actually, hindi talaga siya defective. Pero, kinonsider siyang defective dahil nagko-cause siya ng damage sa another person or another party. Dito tayo sa conditions to rescind a contract. Una, guardianship. If yung guardian ng isang tao is pumasok sa agreement involving tong person na ito and wala siyang alam, ayun, pasok to sa rescissible contract. Pangalawa, representation of absentees. Magbigay tayong halimbawa. If yung contractor ng isang project is wala or umalis, tapos merong someone na gumawa ng bad decision on their behalf, the affected parties can challenge it. This is about protecting the absent contractor from the bad decision na ginawa nung someone else. Pangatlo is fraud of creditors. If a contract is made to trick creditors and prevent them from getting their money, pasok din to sa rescissible contract. So basically, ang rescissible contract can be annulled or cancelled kapag nagko-cause siya ng big problems or unfairness to someone. Next naman na kind of defective contract is voidable contract. Ang voidable contract is still a valid agreement but merong intrinsic defect. Meaning, yung kontrata, even it's valid, pwede siyang makancel because of certain issue or circumstances. Bakit nasali sa defective contract tong voidable contract? Dahil meron din siyang problema doon sa consent. Kapag ka yung minor pumasok sa isang kontrata, ay considered as voidable yung contract na yun. Punta tayo sa conditions for voidable contract to occur. First is fraud. Ito yung kapag ka nagsinungaling yung one party to get the other party to agree. The next is misrepresentation. Ito naman yung kapag yung isang party nag-provide ng false information para din mapapirma yung another party. Then next is duress. If one party was forced or threatened into the deal. Next is undue influence. Ito naman yung kapag yung gumamit ng power unfairly yung isang party para lang ma-influensyahan yung another party. Then next is mistake. If yung both parties misunderstood yung important fact doon sa kontrata. Next is lack of capacity. Ito yung nabanggit ko kanina na kung saan if yung one party was too young and not mentally capable of understanding the agreement. So basically, yung voidable contract, it's like having an undo option if something went wrong during the agreement process. Punta tayo dito sa pangatlong kinds of defective contracts, which is unenforceable contract. Itong contract na to is still valid, but hindi mo pwedeng obligahin or puwersahin yung other parties to perform the contract. And yung legal system natin is walang magagawa dito. Hindi niya pwedeng parusahan yung other party since hindi hindi recommended na sundin yung nilalaman nitong unenforceable contract. Bakit ba kinonsider na defective contract yung unenforceable contract? Because of its lack of authority or form. Para maging enforceable yung isang contract is nire-required siya to be in a certain form. Most common form is yung mga nakasulat sa papel. There must be a ratification of the flow of the unenforceable contract for the contract to be binding. Nabanggit natin sa previous slide ang word na ratification. Ano nga ba ang ratification? It is when one party is alam niya na merong flaw or issue yung kontrata and still accepts it, making it valid and enforceable. Punta tayo dito sa last kind of defective contract, which is yung void contract or non-existent contract. Itong type ng contract na to is not legally valid from the very beginning. Meaning, it has no legal effect. And hindi din siya kinikilala ng batas since it contains something illegal or against public policy. Bakit ba kinonsider na defective yung void contract? Dahil meron siyang missing essential elements doon sa kontrata. Ang void contract ay hindi valid contract for the very reason na hindi siya na perfect dahil meron ngang missing essential elements. Ito yung mga contracts that are considered void. It produces no effect whatsoever either against or in favor of anyone. There is no action for annulment. It cannot be confirmed, ratified, or cured, and imprescriptible. And to summarize our discussion about the kind of defective contract, take a look at this picture. Pinapakita dito na ang rescissible and voidable contract is still valid and can be binding and enforceable, while yung unenforceable contract is still valid but not binding and enforceable. And yung void contract is not valid, not binding, and not enforceable at all. And that concludes our discussion. Thank you for listening.